is an AI-assisted data science notebook. The agent writes and runs code on your behalf. So that's the promise. My question for this hackathon was focusing on how these users experience this promise, or have they ever experienced this promise? So let me show you the answer. So of these 4,771 total user, 285% of them experience this, 6% of the total user base. This is not a retention problem, this is an activation problem. And that's what this analysis is about. So let's look at together the activation bottleneck that I have identified. Here we are seeing the activation funnel from this total user base. Again, 4,771, roughly a third of them ran one tool ever, and 649 of them used AI agents, and consistently only these 285 of them. So it means that meaningful agent assisted pipeline work. And this is a huge gap. So what we are seeing here is that a lot of people are dropping out. Users sign up and do nothing. Let's look at the segments, because 63.7% of them, what I'm calling ghosts, they are sign up and do nothing. These are the users that have been lost, basically. They have zero tool interaction, zero. These people are not even trying and failing. These people never started. When we look at the segments side by side, the picture, I think, becomes clearer. Agent builders on average have 157 average tool calls, agents and any other tool that they have used in the pipeline. Manual coders just behind them with 125, and 90% of these agent builders are coming back, while only 84% of the manual coders, 52% of the viewers, and only 8% of the ghosts. So this is not a marginal difference, this is structural. The agent builder segment is categorically different from every other user in the dataset. 6% of the total user base, and the difference is entirely explained by one thing, according to my argument. They reach the agent and they started to consistently use it. So the agent is not a feature, it's a retention mechanism, or the base of a possible retention mechanism. So here's the most urgent signal in the entire data set. I have categorized users into cohorts based on when they have signed up. We are seeing September 2025 cohort, and we're seeing 90.1% of them as agent builders, and the October cohort, we are seeing 90.9% of them as agent builders, and everyone after that, every user who registered after that, this agent builder rate is dropping to 0. So yes, there's a limitation because we are seeing an observation window KVET. So fewer days have passed by to accumulate agent build calls, and before the dataset ends on the 8th of December. So this partially explains this ratio drop. But again, 80% plus of the agent builder rates was examined for the September and October cohort within their first weeks. So the observation window alone wouldn't be possible to explain the whole collapse in itself. It must be investigated. What could be behind this? My hypotheses are UI change, maybe feature regression, any shift in the acquisition channel. they must be rolled out before any growth initiative targets these cohorts. Okay, so let's look at the retention side. So we are seeing here survivor curves, and we are seeing here agent builders, manual coders, and viewers. And what we are seeing that agent builders decay slower, and every user who returns, if you're looking at the early return prediction, what does it say about survival? Is that any user who returns in 24 hours survive dramatically longer compared to any other users who come back much more later, and far longer than those who never return. So this is very important. This is a very strongest behavior signal in the data set. And the activation milestone analysis showed that users who had reached 3 agent build calls in under or within 48 hours after the registration have a 45% chance of becoming agent builders compared to those who haven't reached this threshold. Among those users, only 0.8% becomes agent builders. So that's 56 times more lift based on this single signal and metric. And the modeling part also underlines this again. So 3 models were trained to predict agent builder status. All 3 hit AUC metrics above 0.9090 on the full population. The more interesting results came from a narrow model that I have just prepared for you on the first session signals, like the event types, so how deeply they discovered the platform, what it could provide to them in their first session, how quickly they have returned, so the time to return in hours, and how long the session lasted. These are detectable within hours of the sign up. And that's our intervention window, and these are the most important signals to implement some kind of intervention. And what we are seeing, again, in terms of churn, that 40-day churn proxy among active users stands at 83.3%. So that's actually pretty high, and churn is silent, so they are stop coming back without triggering any visible struggle signal. And it doesn't have to be this way, so it's actionable. I have implemented this intervention targeting, and I have identified 3,393 users who could be activated with nudges based on the signals that I have already explained before. And 846 of these potential retention rescuable users, and 580 should be monitored, and 8 of them on the cusp of consistent agent builder behavior. So here's a target infrastructure that I'm offering to you. These users are identifiable and already identified based on this simple data set. The only missing thing is deployment. Every day without the scoring or any intervention implemented, permanent user losses is there. So basically 3 actions that I have proposing to you. Action 1, redesigning onboarding to make the first agent interaction mandatory. So not optional, no tooltips, a guided build in session 1 before users have a reason to leave. And action 2, so I think an emergency audit of this November-December cohort collapse is important to identify the root cause. It partially can be explained by the observation window caveat, but other reasons could be identified as well. Action 3, deploy any kind of intervention, but there's the intervention methodology that I have just proposed. The work is done, the users are waiting. So a North Star metric that I'm just came up with, which could be useful to measure business, the impact of any kind of intervention on the business metrics. So the percentage of new users who complete at least one agent-assisted pipeline build within 7 days after their registration and sign up. So what we are seeing in the data set that currently at 30.6% of all users ever use the agent, and the target could be around 30% plus within the 90 days of any onboarding redesign, based on what I have just come up with based on my analysis. So every product decision should be based or evaluated against this movement in this number if you're agreeing with this North Star metric. So I think Zerve as a product already works. The challenge is getting the users to experience the promise of Zerve.